Hey YouTube, Joyboy here. So today I want to talk about Usopp's true name, as well as his lies. And so guys, today I want to talk about an extremely old theory. This was no doubt talked about and speculated from many years ago, before One Piece forum community became something that was popular. And I also know that this has been talked about semi-recently because the strongest evidence to support it was revealed in the Dressrosa arc. But I honestly don't think that this theory is talked about enough. This is one of those theories that I view as future fact. I do not hear people talking about this enough, especially for the level of hype that it would give the fandom. But anyway guys, since theories became a thing, the earliest mention of this came from BECK. BECK, pretty much the most OG theorist within our community. He also has a YouTube channel, link will be in the description, and the only post that I could find of this on YouTube came from the user SAFFRON KAIZOKU, who is also a friend of mine. Link to his channel will also be in the description, but his video didn't get any amount of attention compared to what this theory deserves. And there are also dozens of other people that have brought this up. None of their posts seem to get a whole lot of attention. But today we are going to speculate, simply and obviously, some thought that I'm sure has occurred to most people, that Usopp, given that we don't know his last name, also given that Sanji was recently revealed to be a Vinsmoke, that his lineage was important, it's easy to speculate perhaps Usopp's lineage may be important, that Usopp is a direct descendant of MONTBLANC Noland. But the fun of this theory doesn't come from the speculation itself, because I remember as I was watching through One Piece that I myself considered the possibility Usopp was related to Noland. The fun comes from the evidence, which is extremely persuasive. But anyway, when Noland was first introduced in the story in the Jaya arc, when we got to meet Mont-Blanc Cricket, Nami was reading the tale of Noland the Liar. And as they were reading the story, Oda brought absurd attention onto Usopp, for very good reason. Usopp, just like Noland, was noted as a liar. And Oda continued to do this several chapters after this point, where Cricket was talking about the story of Noland, and Luffy seems to have confused Mont-Blanc Noland with Usopp. Usopp even had to go so far as to point out the fact that Noland had a different name. And this only continued further into the story, as it was noted that many of the places Noland visited, they erected statues of him, and Usopp's first statue came to exist in Skypiea. And he got another one in Dressrosa, both places Noland was specifically remarked upon to have visited. And this becomes all the more fascinating after the time skip, after Usopp sort of develops many of the characteristics that were associated with Noland. Specifically, Usopp becomes a mastery of botany. He uses plants in his attacks, which Noland specifically was a botanist. And then also we can see that Usopp now wears this cool little cap which gives some sort of resemblance to the chestnut-like object which projects off of Noland's head, and as well as his descendant, Cricket. Even looking back as far as Usopp's introductory arc, his friends from that village all had hairstyles which could be in some ways compared to sort of chestnut style hairdos with the little bit sticking up at the end and sort of bowl shape. But none of this definitively proves that Usopp is in fact directly related to Noland. He could just sort of represent Noland within the story. And it's worth noting here that Usopp isn't exactly like Noland. Noland was not a liar. Noland had amazing adventures which, when he returned home to tell stories about it, people didn't believe him. But at no point did he actually lie. Usopp, however, is a liar. And this is where we're going to get into what I believe to be the almost definitive evidence that Usopp is actually related to Noland. And that is, simply put, that in the past, Usopp has lied, saying that he is related to Noland. And a very popular theory, one that I think the vast majority of the community know, is that Usopp's lies, in one way or another, become truth. As SAFFRON KAIZOKU points out, Usopp is a living spoiler. By lying, Usopp eventually called The Kuro pirates attacking his home island, a giant goldfish with poop the size of an island, giant mole, a Cerberus, dragons, country of dwarves, Luffy's first bounty, as well as the existence of Rebecca. You could go one by one. In fact, I plan at some point in the future to read through One Piece and record all of the things that Usopp says that could be construed as future lies to share with you guys, because I don't think that anyone has fully compiled a list. But that aside, Usopp lied in the Dressrosa arc about being related to Noland, which I would assume would mean that he is in fact related to Noland, as was already something that you could theorize before Usopp specifically lied about it. But there's a little bit more, which is that back when we first met Cricket, he talked about the lineage of the Noland family. He said this: "But in the past 400 years, there have been countless members of my family who set out to the seas to reclaim our family's honor or whatever. Don't know whatever happened to any of them, but..." Here, guys, I believe Oda is intimating to us that the lineage of the Noland family, specifically the family tree, is in some way important. This registers to me as foreshadowing. We will, in the future of this story, meet another member of the Noland family, and as previously speculated here, I think that that person would be Usopp. MONTBLANC Usopp. And so how exactly does Usopp not know who his ancestor was if he is in fact related to somebody so important? And I think the reason goes back to what Cricket specifically told us, which is that when Noland died, the honor of the family was completely ruined. Mont-Blanc Cricket himself notes that he could not escape from the persecution that was involved with being of the Mont-Blanc family. So I think it's very possible that certain members of this family may have dropped and or forgotten their last name for the purposes of remaining anonymous, avoiding the persecution. Or it's also possible that Usopp's father specifically never told Usopp to save him from what would be his fate otherwise. And if you could draw a conclusion from the very few amount of data points that we have at our disposal, it seems as though there's a trend, which is with Mont-Blanc Noland and Mont-Blanc Cricket, as well as the Mont-Blanc family, which is unnamed and undescribed. They all somehow end up on the sea, adventuring. And Usopp specifically notes that he just can't resist the allure of the sea, that the pirate flag calls to him. If there is one family within the story who may secretly be a member of the D family, my money is on the Mont-Blanc family. It is incredibly hard, if not impossible, to prove this, but based on my understanding of what the Ancient Kingdom may be, my theories, I speculate that the Ancient Kingdom was not an actual kingdom, but rather a kingdom of pirates. I will include a link to both of my theories talking about this in the description, both of which I believe are worthy of watching some of my better material. But if this does indeed hold true, I find it oh so significant that the Mont-Blanc family just can't stop resist the allure of the sea. Usopp himself says that he cannot resist the pirate flag. Usopp is very similar. His dream specifically to become a brave warrior of the sea, something that he feels like his father has already achieved, as well as Noland. And what's awesome about the D initial is that it's very possible that many characters that we've already seen within the story or suspect may have the initial D do in fact have it, because the D is stated by law to, or it's intended to be a secret initial. You are not supposed to tell people that you are a D. Some families seem to have forgotten this, others haven't. But from this secrecy, the possibilities are innumerable. Is Mont-Blanc D Usopp an actual thing in the future of One Piece? And the last thing that I want to address here is that, yes, Usopp does not look like Noland. He doesn't have the chestnut, which, as revealed in the story so far, would be the defining trait of someone of the Mont-Blanc family. But I don't find this to be convincing evidence against the idea, and put simply, it's because of time and genetics. This is perhaps hinted at Usopp himself. Usopp has a long nose. Usopp does not. This is because Usopp inherited his long nose from his mother. It's very possible that the odd chestnut-shaped object head thing on top of Noland that was passed down to Cricket never made it down Usopp's family line. And even talking about genetics in general, how much does Cricket actually look like Noland? And the answer is not at all, except for the chestnut. And then to put on my tinfoil hat for just a second, even though I don't find this connection to be persuasive, but I do think it's worthy of throwing out there, which is that if you do actually look at Usopp, he does seem to share at least some similarity with Noland's design, specifically his eyes and his eyebrows. You know, I won't go in depth, but there are some similarities to be found there. And as well, when researching this video, I found a post from Reddit. A user named Dragonwhale, again a link in the description, noticed a very odd similarity between Usopp and Noland, which is that one thing that's interesting about Usopp's design and that has carried throughout the entire of the story is on his left arm he has this wristband that has blue and white stripes. And for some reason he's always had this, and I could not find an example when he didn't have it in the canon story. Then going into Noland, when we see him during the flashback in Skypiea, Noland's pants have the same blue and white stripe pattern. Is this one of Oda's low-key hints? But anyway guys, it was about time that I shared this theory on my channel, as I believe it very strongly and was reminded of it recently. But obviously this was a semi-popular theory in the past. I haven't heard really it's talked about at length, especially not on YouTube, so I felt like it would be rather novel for a lot of people out there. But if it's not, let me know. If you enjoyed this, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Share your thoughts. If you wish to support my content, there will be a Patreon link in the description, as well as if you wish to join the Discord that Pirate King Buggy made for me, link will also be in the description. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video, subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always guys, have a wonderful day.